Welcome to Cyberskillfarm Empowering IT Professionals. I'm here with Marlon, Senior Technical Specialist, IT Security, and me, Raymond, and Grace. So hi everybody.
Hello.
If you get value from videos like this and want more, smash that like button and subscribe to get updates on the new content. If there's specific topic or skill in IT you want to learn, comment below and we'll check it out.
Hi, good evening, Grace and Ray. So thank you for
Yeah,
having me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to at least to showcase my career story.
yeah, thanks as well. And let's start it off.
Mhm.
Marlon, how did you start your career in IT?
All right. So actually, I'm a graduate of computer engineering. So I actually started with 2 years engineering. So before, in my early stage of my career, actually, I worked as a repair engineer in a manufacturing company. But then again, I cannot see the progress in terms of learning. It's like you're doing the task every day, and I actually had this initiative to further progress my career. Then I continue my study to computer engineering. So that is another 3 years, so composed of 5 years. Now, after graduating of computer engineering, I first stepped into IT by becoming an IT instructor. So in a local college in my city, so I teach computer hardware servicing for NC2, computer networking, basic programming. Then of course, being an IT instructor, so you have this knowledge, these theories and everything, but still you feel lack the actual experiences, right? So you have this knowledge, but you cannot apply in real world. So after 4 semester, I then resigned from my work and pursue an IT support specialist work in a well-known company in Subic Bay. Now, what I actually did was to supervise and administer basically the system and networking and everything for POS, especially for POS. So the company is there's a restaurant, there's a reservation. So basically, I manage the POS and everything. But then again, after more than a year, um, I again pursue a career change because basically I wanted to advance my career. That is the time when I moved into Manila. So I use all my savings or some of my savings to study particular to networking first. Um, you guys maybe heard Mnet in Cubao. So yeah. So I study I trained there for every Saturdays. Then afterwards, then I get my CCNA, my first Cisco CCNA certifications. Then having that CCNA, it actually opens up opportunity for me to work in an SI environment, system integrator. So if you're familiar with Fujitsu, dimension data, so basically that's the same. Now, when I work in an SI, my division actually is focused in network security. So Cisco for networking, but then I was trained for Fortinet. Fortinet, by the way, is the one of the best network security solutions out there. So yeah, so most of my deployments are focused in network security. So I'm actually lucky to be part in the Cisco team who builds Melco Crown. If you're familiar with City of Dreams, Manila. So I'm actually one of the engineers that builds the network there. Ayala Corporation, I've been there. Even Meralco and other large corporates in Manila. So what I can say with being an SI, it may not had that, it may not have that um, big salary, but in terms of learning, you will get the actual experiences. So because there's a difference between an SI to an administrator, sorry. because when you're administrator, so basically you just manage or administer the systems that is already implemented, right? Unlike for system integrators, um, you do the planning, you do the unboxing. Actually, you do the unboxing of the devices, the initial configurations and everything. Then you implement. So what I can say for young IT professionals is, if you want to gain the right experiences, be on a system integrator or a service provider. Now, um, being an SI, so my focus there is network security. Again, another after more than a year, I transitioned to a global company. Um, so right now, my current title is a senior technical specialist for IT security. But basically, it's an SME for IT security. So the company is a global company. It's actually a Singaporean company. So I get the perks of having day shift. So we my current shift is 9 to 6, and yeah, so it's family oriented. Of course, being a global operations, you have the chance to work with multinational people, and yeah. So basically, in my current position right now, I basically pioneer the IT security operations. So being a pioneer, so basically I develop and implement the processes for IT security, service standards, incident response. Um, yeah, so that's my current position right now.
Thank you so much for that
Yep.
full view of your career, and it's really something that you mentioned earlier, that when you
Mhm.
started out, you took the risk actually
Mhm.
to
Yep.
use some of your savings to get your CCNA, and that from there at that point in time opened up the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's really one thing that hopefully our other guys out there who want to enter security or IT,
Mhm.
that's one starting point.
Yep.
And Marlon, just a little bit of digging down. So, what do you think are the things that you enjoy intrinsically in your job? That when you say, for example, if I was a high school student and
Yep.
I'm considering IT, what are the things back then that you think that, yeah, I like doing this, I like the hands-on stuff. What are those things that made you, I really want to do this?
All right. So IT is actually a pretty broad domain, right? So when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
say IT, you cannot just say you're an IT professional.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you say IT, there's another domains for, if you want to be a graphic artist, you want a data analyst, you want to be a cybersecurity or the network field. Um, but basically, be an IT. Um, there's if you're always hungry, basically, you're always hungry to learn more. um, you wanted to know how to learn coding, or either you want to break things. Of course, career wise, it would take you in great heights if you really pursue, right? If you really persevere in your IT professions. But again, for those IT professionals, being an IT is never ending learning stage. So even those, let's say, experts, they still continue to study and gain certificate as much as possible, as much as they can.
Yeah, I also agree with that. And
Mhm.
the thing is, sometimes something you learned this year might be not applicable or obsolete the next year. So
Yeah, right.
it can happen.
Yep.
So along the way in your career,
Mhm.
can you cite examples of people who helped you along the way? So were there mentors along the way, or were there
Yep.
teachers who really inspired you? Yeah.
um Personally, for my case, there's no specific mentor. In my case, it's more on my personal decision to pursue. um, if you have that goal in your life, if you want to advance yourself, to challenge yourself to take further, uh, that's actually what is the same in my case. But having a mentor is really good in terms of those young professionals who is starting with a career. I would highly advise that if you can take or look for potential mentors in either at your work, your past bosses, or even in social media like LinkedIn. It would really great. It would really help your career to get a mentor.
And when you were shifting from one career to the next, was
Yep.
it more of us? Was it more of something like you were focusing and trying to find other opportunities, or was it more on you had people you know and somebody probably a manager recommended you to a position or something like that?
Um, there is. I have this previous manager who actually more his advice is more on life actually. So not really direct technology, but in life. So what you need to do to pursue to succeed in life, you know. Um, but if in case that you don't have this kind of mentors in your work, you can always reach out to other people's, right? So there's lots of leaders in IT, in even in Facebook. There are several groups, IT groups, that can provide you some recommendation or guide you on how you take your first path in IT.
And if it's okay with you to share,
Mhm.
can you share
Yep.
some of the basic tasks that when you were changing your careers, what were those basic tasks that you did per role, if possible? Yeah.
All right. Um, so I'll start with being an instructor. So basically for instructor, so you have this knowledge. You are tasked to study, of course, to study your course syllabus. Then you provide, you teach, you provide, you train people. Um, the good part there is that people will appreciate you. You know, so they will appreciate you just because they are imparting something to their career. So especially for colleges, um, like for example, for those first year colleges, right? So if you initially impart the necessary knowledge and learnings, I'm pretty sure that they will know what that they can take after graduation. So basically for IT instructor, yeah, for more on teachings. As an IT support specialist, it's actually a general IT support, systems, network, servers, basically administration of systems, vendor management, yeah, technical support for clients. System integrator. So for my case, I am responsible for installation, configuration of Cisco routers, Fortinet firewalls, then talking to clients, um, um, acquiring their IT requirements, and then upon implementation, providing the best practices. Then upon implementation, you will provide what we call knowledge transfer so you need to train the client before fully giving or yeah fully giving the project for project closure. Now in my current role as a IT security specialist, so basically my career right now is pretty broad, starting with IT security operations. So basically when you say operations, you overlooks the day-to-day IT operations for security. So uh, you ensure that the network defenses, the perimeter defenses are always there. You check any alerts, any events that come to your organizations. Um, as part of being a senior IT security specialist, I'm also considered to be an SME. Being an SME, you are the primary liaison to communicate to stakeholders. For example, there's incident breaches or there's an incident where a VIP, we call VIP, or those C-level executives are the victim. So basically, that's where I came in. No? So I lead the incident response. Um, then yeah, so I lead the incident response investigation until conduct the full process until submission of the IR, the whole incident response. So aside from the incident response, I also do VAPT, vulnerability assessment penetration testing. Vulnerability assessment, so I conduct vulnerability assessments for the company, then provide risk assessment. Penetration testing, I don't really do the penetration testing internal since the organization would require a third party. So what I actually do is manage third party engagements. So basically, I talk to these people who would conduct the testing, then ensure that the testing is fluent, ensure that the operations will not be hindered, and until to the report. And also responsible for assisting in assessments and implementation of new security solutions. For example, so we have to improve our email systems. So several vendors come in, they show their solutions. So I'm one of the guys that attend and assess their product presentation, evaluate if their solution would fit for the requirement of the company. Then after implementation, so yeah, I basically assist on the implementation, provide whatever requirements that they need to fully implement the system or the solution. Yeah.
Basically, in that, that's a lot of experience, and I know must have been challenges along the way.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if it's all right with you, can you share some of those challenges that you think that others out there might also experience along their career?
Yeah. Okay. So challenges. I'll start with technical. Of course, technical in especially in IT in our profession. So we really need to cope up with the technology. We need to, of course, learn the technology. It's not like what we say in cybersecurity. So it's not like a threat right now will not be a threat tomorrow. So there's always a new threat that coming in, right? So we need to cope up with the technology. For as a person, as a professional, so you need to engage, right? You need to engage to. There will come a time you will need you will engage multinational people, multinational. Uh, so you need to have a better communication, not just
Yeah.
communication, but of course writing, reporting. So yeah, so yeah, so basically that's the challenges that I would share.
Yeah, I kind of understand because we need actually when it's talk about multinational, we need to learn how to speak, communicate in English and everything.
Right.
Yeah, and writing. I understand that, and it could be difficult, especially if our language is, in my case, initial language is Cebuano, Cebu,
Mhm.
and I had to learn Tagalog. And in your case, probably a lot of speaking engagement with your clients really gave you that practice. And the thing is, from your perspective right now, what do you think is more fitting for an IT
Mhm.
professional in IT security? Is it more leaning to become a generalist or is more leaning to become a specialist? Although your title is a specialist right now, what do you think your role actually is?
Um, all right. So, in my own opinion, so when we say generalist, we're referring to you know everything, right? That's what we.
Um, Something like jack of all
Yeah.
trades,
Right. Right.
master of none, or probably
Yep.
master of one, something like that.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So I once talked to an IT manager before, and this IT manager told me that it is actually an advantage for a person to have a knowledge in multiple security solutions, right? And as we see in several job posting, we can see there's a requirement for knowledge in firewalls. There's a requirement knowledge for SIMs, even yeah, and then basic administration for security. But in my opinion, to be honest, I would prefer a specialist, right? I would prefer one or two domains. It would be good. Like for example, you are good in incident response in digital forensics or penetration testing and some knowledge with network security or email security. But in my opinion, I would go to specialists in a specific domain. So you choose your career, you choose your path, you choose the domain that you really feel, then you be master on it, right? If for example, if you start with incident response, as much as possible, be a be a specialist, or be a specialist in incident response, because when you say incident response, and again, it's another pretty broad domain. You need to study several tools. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think partly, of course, from experience and also Grace's experience, becoming a specialist, or if in case you need to become a generalist, it's better to be probably knowledgeable on a lot of things and still
Yep.
a specialist on one or two
Yes,
domains.
yes,
And yeah, I think that would really be beneficial. And just a side question,
Mhm.
uh, right now, because cybersecurity is really something that it's an I think it's an overused term, and a lot of people want to get into cybersecurity security. The thing is, how do you measure security? I don't know if you can answer that in a simple way. How do you measure security in such a way that it would promote progress in your security program or security posture of your company?
Yep. Um, Basically, security is everyone's responsibility, right? So that's what we always say, that security is everyone's responsibility. So we can apply that. So for example, you work in an organization, you upgrade every perimeter solutions like firewalls, the email gateways, but still, if your users has
Mm.
no adequate training, right? They will are still the organization is still susceptible to cyber attacks, right? That's why we say security is everyone's responsibility, in a way that aside from the technical guys, your average user should also be trained, right? Especially the stakeholders, security awareness training should be given at least quarterly, yeah. So yeah, so everyone, security is basically everyone's responsibility.
Okay, so basically what I got from that is in measuring security, should not only be technical, but
Right.
also the people as well, because the people,
Right.
everybody, all the stakeholders are responsible for security.
Yes.
And just to wrap it up, if you were to start your or IT security career from scratch today,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
advice would you give yourself and for those others out there who also starting their IT career?
All right.
Mm.
Okay. So I would suggest to really know what you really want, right? You start by acquiring associate level certificates. Then actually the certificate, by acquiring that certificate, it won't stop there. It's actually the initial opportunity. So it will just open your initial opportunity for you, right? Then once you um got your position, right? For example, you start off with incident response, or you start as a network security engineer. I would suggest you become, as much as possible, be the best for that specific role, right? You don't need, because nowadays we can see IT professionals acquire several certificates, right? For me, I don't think you need to acquire as much as certificates in the market. It's part of business. Aside from learning, actually, to be honest, it's part of business. So for example, where if you are in incident response analyst, be the best of it, acquire certifications aligned with incident response. So that's what I could suggest. And for mentorship, it's good to find a mentor. At the same time, you need to have your specific goals, what you want for your future, what you want for your profession, what you want on how you advance. So you have this goal and focus on your goal, whatever it takes, how hard it is. So again, IT is it's there will always be challenges, technical, personal. So you need to continue your study. Then as much as possible, be the best on what you do. Yeah.
Okay, that's really great. Thank you so much, Marl. Okay, just one thing.
Sure.
When specific, when it comes to IT
Mhm.
security, what would be the top three skills, maybe certifications or skills or training that you would recommend to
Mhm.
others starting in security?
All right. Top three. Um, okay, so I would refer my answer based on my current career and what I can see in the market, right? Number one is
Yeah,
incident
yeah.
response and digital forensics. So I could see there are several opportunities for incident response and digital forensics locally and abroad. Number two, GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. However, GRC is not really that technical. It is more on the documentations, compliance, laws, and everything. So documentation. So if you have the touch for that, my number two is GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. Number three is of course cloud. So we all know that most of the corporates right now, the companies are leaning towards cloud. So if you can be a cloud engineer, to be either Azure or AWS, it would really boost your career.
So Marlon, thank you so much for sharing your insights here at Cyberskill Farm, empowering IT professionals.